Well, howdy y'all. Welcome to Once Upon a Time in Texas with episode number 67. So there for a while it was getting harder to come up with ideas, and it's still tough to come up with ideas for Once Upon a Time in Texas. But it seems like you guys are still enjoying it, and so I keep making it a priority pretty much every week. I'm going to try to add in a few more people in the future to come and talk just about Texas or things going on, people that I know. And so I'm your host, Michael Mitchell, right here from the big city of Wichita Falls, Texas. You are in the Once Upon a Time in Texas World Headquarters, which, to be honest, is my kitchen where our home computer is. Yeah, there's nothing real glamorous about this podcast setup. It's right here with all of my other rental company stuff and mortgage stuff. And yeah, just right here in the big fat middle of the kitchen, pretty much. So, and I'm sure you guys will hear me fidgeting around with stuff because that's what I do while I do this. But anyway, so let's talk about some random things. Number one, rain. Normally we don't complain a whole lot about rain here in North Texas, or really in Texas in general at all. But we've had an excess of it, and we thank the good Lord for sending us some much needed precipitation so far this year. But we are a little tired of it, I guess. Somebody years from now will be listening to this during a drought and be like, you're an idiot. But anyway, I know one of our lakes is full. The other ones are filling. They're still around 60 or 70%. So anyway, it's going on. And it's happening. So good stuff. We're supposed to get some more rain on Thursday. Yay. And I guess, as long as it's rain and not tornadoes and stuff like that, because we've had our fair share of some bad weather this year already. But it is what it is. Want to brag on my wife for a minute. She got awarded yesterday the Red River Best Chevy Dealers Teacher Appreciation Award. And so these are awards that they do each year. They give away somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000 to regional teachers that are nominated. And turns out that my wife got 4 or 5 nominations, all of them glowing recommendations for her. And yeah, she got awarded with a nice check. And the guy even said, look, this isn't for your classroom or the school. This is for you in appreciation of everything that you do. So it was great. I had a bunch of kids in there. And she's planning out a vacation for us for this summer. So I think we're going to go somewhere that she's been wanting to go for a while. Branson, Missouri, which I went to as a kid. But she's never been. She's always wanted to go. So I'm pretty excited for her and to go with her. And we might even take our kids. I don't know. That's still questionable. Depends on their attitudes, I guess. I got sworn in. Well, I got asked a while ago to be on the Wichita Falls City Revitalization Committee. And I thought this was just going to kind of be a ragtag team of people kind of put together. And we just kind of come up with ideas and basically more or less be a steering committee. Oh, no. No, I showed up at the very first meeting, and there was official notarized paperwork and all kinds of stuff, and had to hold up the right hand and do the whole swearing in to serve the city in a somewhat official capacity. Like, it was a bigger deal than I thought it was going to be. But regardless, I'm excited. I really, truly am. To be a part of that, our city has needed some focus for some revitalization stuff to happen. And it just so happens that the revitalization area they are focusing on is where I live. The very first one is right here where I live. And I believe there's 4 or 5 others in town where they kind of want to focus and do some stuff. So pretty pumped. The other stuff, to be honest, that I'm pretty excited about is it was announced late last week, mid last week, that the Boy Scouts of America is rebranding and making a name change to Scouting America. And they are also looking at doing some other program changes. Nothing big, nothing outlandish. If you're a huge lover of the Boy Scouts of America like I am, keep your comments to yourself. I'm excited, to be honest. Change is inevitable, and sometimes we don't like it, but I will say for the most part, I believe this is going to be good stuff. And I'm going to hit that here in just a little bit. So, let's jump into this podcast this week. So, when I say scouting or Boy Scouts of America, there are probably a bunch of images that pop into your head. Most of them are probably your typical Norman Rockwell painting showing, life Americana, which included tons of paintings with Boy Scouts as subjects. Some of the most famous Norman Rockwell paintings and depictions were of Boy Scouts. So what about the BSA in Texas? And my thought is, let's dive into some famous Boy Scouts that we may not know about, and then a little bit of Texas scouting history. And I encourage you guys to kind of stay on this one, because whether or not you are involved in Boy Scouts in the United States or Boy Scouts worldwide, it's a good thing to note that Boy Scouts is a worldwide program. Really, it comes down to a few communist countries that are not a part of the world scouting movement. And scouting in each individual country is a little different, but also very much the same. The whole goals and ideals behind the world scouting movement are pretty much the same in every country. And so I have had the privilege of meeting scouts from all over the world. And I can't say that I have a favorite, although I will say that I keep in touch most often with my scouting friends that I made in Scotland. Especially Jacob Campbell, who does listen to this podcast. And he has some Facebook posts and stuff that just crack me up. What an interesting young man he was, and what a cool person he is turning out to be. So Jacob, if you're listening, shout out to you and the scouts in Scotland, and really any scouts anywhere. Highly encourage you guys to get involved anywhere you are. So before we take a look at famous Boy Scouts you may not know about, and a little bit of Texas scouting history, let's thank our sponsors, which of course are me and Victory Home Loans. I know there are tons of people moving in and around Texas, Oklahoma, or really anywhere. Victory Home Loans now serves 16 states. And while I am licensed in Texas and Oklahoma, I have friends and opportunity to help people purchase homes in any of those 16 states. Mostly out west, but we do have a few over East Coast. I think Virginia, maybe West Virginia. I don't know. Long story short, just holler at me. If you know somebody that's moving, looking to get a home loan, I would love to help them out. And even if I am not licensed, or Victory Home Loans is not licensed in those states, I know people. That's kind of what I do. I love helping people get hooked up with other folks. So anyway, why not work with the broker, a mortgage broker, someone like me? We are faster, cheaper, and easier than the main banks. We go out and we do the shopping for you. We shop several different lenders and really find the best deal for you. So send those people on over to themichaelmitchell.com, THE, michaelmitchell.com. Let me help them out. Remember, when you work with me, I sell dreams, not mortgages. All right, so where did this week's idea come from? Well, it's simple. The Boy Scouts had a big national annual meeting last week, and they've been in the news a lot lately. Some of it has not been, not for some great stuff. Some of it has been the big lawsuit and stuff, which is kind of getting settled out. And really that is unfortunate stuff. But, I mean, we're in the news, and the Boy Scouts of America as a national organization has stepped up to the plate in a big, big way to prevent any kind of abuse and things from happening in our organization ever again. So, but most recently, they decided to do this rebranding and the name change, which reflects kind of a newer culture of the Boy Scouts, which includes girls. And so I talk to a lot of folks about Scouts. I've got a passion for Scouts. I don't know, a lot of y'all may not know me personally. I am an Eagle Scout. I've been registered every year of my life since I was 6, so almost 40 years now. I am an Eagle Scout from right here in Wichita Falls. I worked professionally for the Boy Scouts for 13 years, and then I've continued to be a volunteer. I'm currently an assistant scoutmaster in 2 troops, one male and one female troop. And so a lot of history with Scouts. And so, the new name change, which is Scouting America, is really very inclusive of girls. And now I'm sure a lot of you out there like me are tired of hearing about diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. It's not a bad thing, guys. I know there are some folks out there, and believe me, I've been irritated by some of the DEI crowd or woke. A lot of people are saying, oh, the Boy Scouts are getting woke. Well, I don't know. Not everything that changes means woke. It just means that sometimes things need to change. And Boy Scouts really didn't represent our organization anymore. And so they're making this name change. So now, girls have been a part of the BSA program for a long time, okay? They were able to join Exploring, and then later when Venturing split out of Exploring in 1998, that was a co-ed program for 14 to 21. Of course, adult leadership. Of course, moms were always able to be leaders in Cub Scouts. But then, the BSA made a change. I forget when it was, 60s or 70s maybe, to where females could be leaders of Boy Scout troops. And of course, the sky was falling. The Boy Scouts are going to end, and it didn't. Desegregating troops, that was a thing, I guess, back in the day, like everything else. And the Boy Scouts are going to be ruined and go away, blah, blah, blah. And of course it didn't. Then you fast forward a few years, we've added in Exploring, Learning for Life, Venturing, and I think these will be okay, but I don't know if it's really going to add to the program. And it has. And then, then we added in Tiger Cubs in 1982, which was a first grade Cub Scout program. So previously, throughout the years, Cub Scouts, they went from 3rd grade to 5th grade, and then they backed it up 2nd grade to 5th grade. And then in 1982, they throw in Tiger Cubs, which is 1st grade, and then Cub Scouts goes on through 5th grade. And then in I don't remember the date exactly. I think it's 2016-ish. They add in Lions Cubs again, which Lions used to be the 5th grade program years and years ago, but they added it back in as a kindergarten program. So I was super excited to get involved with my son. A year earlier, we did the Lions program as a pilot program. It went great. And now we serve kindergarten through 5th grade Scouts. So, fast forward a little bit to 2018, and they decide that girls can now join Cub Scouts. And everybody went, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, the Scouts are going to end, co-ed program, boys and girls. Oh my God, this is going to be a catastrophe. And of course it wasn't. Because, God forbid that we make programs co-ed. Jesus, think about if public schools were co-ed or churches were co-ed. It would be, in the words of Bill Murray, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. And you know what? None of that happened. It was great. Everything has just moved along. I wouldn't say flawlessly, but, everybody's got these images of boys and girls camping in tents together and lots of little pregnant girls, and it just didn't happen. And the girls are loving the program. And so, step forward. Let's see. That was 2017. I'm sorry. 2017 was females in Cub Scouts. 2018, they allowed young ladies to do the traditional Boy Scouts of America program, which is the 11 to 18 youth program in which they can become Eagle Scouts. And again, sky's falling. This is so stupid. And I got my butt chewed and an earful from lots of parents. And to be honest, most of them were parents of only boys. And at the time, only had one daughter. And I'll get to the second daughter that we've got now. But I was like, I'm super excited. And my daughter being, Lorelai being the quick little turd she is, had already heard about it on the news. And so I sat down with her, and she had been a part of the Girl Scout program. And I'm not talking bad about Girl Scouts. It's a great program, but it didn't really fit my daughter. And so I sat down with her and I said, hey, Boy Scouts are doing this. You'll be able to be a Cub Scout, but it's really up to you. Do you want to stay and do the Girl Scout program? Do you want to switch and do the Boy Scout program, or do you want to do both? And without missing a beat, she had thought about this all day. She said, Dad, I want to be an Eagle Scout like you. And away we go. And it has been a fantastic ride. I was super excited about this. My daughter Lorelai became the first registered female Cub Scout in our local council. Since then, we have chartered one of the first female Boy Scout troops, which had been rebranded to Scouts BSA. In our council. It's Troop 2. And we currently serve about 16 female scouts. We've had 3 Eagle Scouts from our troop to date, and looks like we're probably going to add another 2 or 3 this year, I hope. So we'll talk about Lorelai real quick. Lorelai, like I said, she did Cub Scouts. She's done some 4-H stuff. She does shoot competitively with 4-H in Northwest Texas Field and Stream. Anyway, she's loved it. She's a go-getter. Absolutely loved it. So we get this female Boy Scout troop started. I'm a teacher at Kirby Middle School. My wife is at McNeil Middle School, and we've recruited some girls out of this. Well, fast forward another year or two, and we have had some great girls come through our program. Some of them have moved other places. Some of them have left the scouting program, but we keep in touch with most of them and like to think that we've made a good impact. So along comes one of my students named Shanna. And Shanna was one of my students. We get her into our female Boy Scout troop. Things are great. And unfortunately, through no fault of her own, she ends up in foster care. And I get a phone call from CPS saying, hey, obviously, can't go back to her parents at the time. And her mother does listen to this podcast. I'm not sharing anything I don't think that she'd be upset about. But anyway, so I get a phone call, and there's really just nobody else to put her with. And the foster program or in Texas is just overrun with kids, unfortunately. And they said, look, we don't have anybody else to put her with, and we're going to have to put her in a children's home if you guys don't consider taking her. And so we did. And we got to know her, and we were comfortable with taking her because I had been her science teacher, and she was a part of Scouts BSA Troop 2. We knew her. She was one of our own. And, we already knew her parents and had good communication with them. And so we go through that process there, and she ends up being placed with us permanently for various reasons. And so she's now daughter number 2, and she is still, obviously very active in Scouts. And we've had so many other Scouts, it's just been great. And so I could continue going on and on and on, but this is where the idea came from. And so I want to talk about 25 famous Scouts that you may not have heard about. They're not necessarily from Texas, but you just may not have heard about them. So we're gonna talk about them. Neil Armstrong. Of course, everybody knows Neil Armstrong. He is an Eagle Scout and first man to set foot on the moon. And so on his way home from the moon, Armstrong sent a message to the organization's National Jamboree that said, hello to all my fellow Scouts at Farragut State Park in Idaho. Apollo 11 would like to send them best wishes. So how cool is that? One of the first things he says on his way back to Earth, or one of his first messages, is to the Boy Scouts. Martin Luther King was not an Eagle Scout, but we all know who MLK is. And he was a Boy Scout for a long time. He was involved in Troop 151 in Atlanta. And so, anyway, he started college at the age of 15. He skipped the 9th and 12th grades. And so that didn't leave much of an opportunity for him to continue with Scouts, but certainly made a big change. Jimmy Buffett, who recently, passed away, was a famous, is famous for his music, obviously Margaritaville, but he once said, I'm a pretty good field medic, he said in an interview. And he said, from my Boy Scout days, I can patch people up, I can do stitches, which comes in handy in remote surf breaks. So I thought that was kind of cool. Harrison Ford made it all the way to Life Scout, which is the second highest rank in the Boy Scouts of America. But he also played a Life Scout. Indiana Jones is often assumed to be an Eagle Scout, but you never really hear in the movies if he was actually an Eagle Scout. But we do know he was a Life because River Phoenix played a young Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And early in the movie, River Phoenix plays him, and he's going out with a scout troop, and it shows a Life rank on there. But Harrison Ford is out flying his helicopter around Yellowstone and ends up going in and saving a 13-year-old Boy Scout who was lost in Yellowstone overnight. And Harrison Ford seems to be a pretty cool dude overall. John Wayne was a Boy Scout when he was younger, and even had a campsite and a camp dedicated to him, the John Wayne Outpost Camp in California, that was established in 1979. And he made a famous speech, actually one of the last public appearances that he made before he passed, was to go out and make a speech for the Boy Scouts. And I've got that speech somewhere. It's great. Look it up. Michael Jordan was a Boy Scout. He talked about, I think it's his mother, I guess, talked about the importance of being involved in her children's lives. We didn't do anything for Michael that we didn't do for our other kids. She said she was involved with PTA, Boy Scouts, band, and our kids were our life. So that's cool. He's not an Eagle Scout, but he was a Scout. Famous actor Jimmy Stewart. The Boy Scouts of America has established the James M. Stewart Good Citizen Award. So that's kind of cool. Former President George W. Bush was a Boy Scout in his younger years. He was a Cub Scout growing up in Texas. And he also addressed the Boy Scouts at the National Jamboree several times. In one speech, he said, "Every day, Scouts are showing that the greatest strength of America lies in the hearts and souls of our citizens." And I love that. That is so cool. Former President Gerald Ford was actually an Eagle Scout. Got his award in 1927 as a member of Troop 15 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he later received the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award. And so, good deal. Bill Gates. I think we all know Bill Gates. He has received BSA's highest honor, which is called the Silver Buffalo Award. Assisting youth, the merit badges he received, he said he got basket weaving and wood carving. I was really good at those, and I imagine if I hadn't earned those things, he said. Now they've got things like nuclear science, American business, they've got computers. So it's interesting, and Bill Gates said, I might have to go back and get a few more merit badges, obviously, before he passed away. This was an interview in 2010. Buzz Aldrin was another guy that went to the moon, famous astronaut. I believe he, let's see. Nope, he's not an Eagle Scout. He made it to Tenderfoot and, but a part of the scouting program. The greatest athlete of all time. I just heard an argument for this morning. Nolan Ryan was a Cub Scout. And then also, of course, got into a little bit of pitching, a little bit of baseball stuff, and did pretty okay with that. So Nolan Ryan, if you hear this, I would love to talk to you one day because you are a Texas icon, and I would love to have you on the podcast. So you're welcome to come to my kitchen, and the Once Upon a Time in Texas World Headquarters, also known as my kitchen. Winton and Bradford Marsalis, they are musical brothers. They were in Scouts, and in an interview with People magazine, he knew when he was 12 that he wanted to be a musician. I just wanted to be an adolescent knucklehead, and I was very good at that. And so it says both of them became Eagle Scouts. Looks like one of them plays the trumpet and the other one plays the sax. Zach Galifianakis is an Eagle Scout. Grew up in North Carolina. While he doesn't speak a whole lot about his time in Scouts, they say it probably inspired his sense of humor. So, yeah. I did not know that about Zach Galifianakis. That's pretty cool. Jay Leno was in the Boy Scouts. He may owe his choice of career to his time in the Boy Scouts. So, Jay Leno, it says he also has dyslexia, has said he didn't feel like he was very good scout because dyslexia made it difficult for him to complete some of the organization's tasks, like tying knots. Fortunately, he had an excellent scoutmaster who elected Leno to be his troop's cheermaster, encouraging the young boy to tell jokes and keep the rest of the group's mood up, which Jay does a pretty good job. Steven Spielberg is an Eagle Scout. And at 11 years old, actually set his film career into motion when he made a 9-minute short film to earn his photography merit badge. The film, which he created with his dad's 8mm camera, was called The Last Gunfight. And he also served on the National Advisory Board for a while. JFK was an Eagle Scout, Troop 2 from Bronxville, New York. And he had some positions with the Boy Scouts in the Boston district, including a district vice chair, executive board member, national council representative. And then in 1961, he became the national honorary president when he was the president of the United States. Richard Gere, famous actor. I didn't know this too. He made it to, he did not make it to Eagle Scout. Gosh, I keep goofing that up. But he did spend some time in the BSA. He maintains the organization's philanthropic spirit in his adult life, focusing on humanitarian causes like HIV, AIDS, and homelessness, and does lots of cool stuff. Former President Bill Clinton was in Scouts. So let's see. In 1997, he applauded the organization and its members for their dedication to volunteerism. For almost a century, the Boy Scouts of America have helped make volunteer service an American ideal. With every act of kindness, you've strengthened our nation's commitment to community and promoted a sense of civic responsibility. Chris Pratt. Who doesn't like Chris Pratt, right? He's mentioned a few times that he was once a scout, and all while donating to help a current scout in need. The actor is well known for his philanthropic efforts, even donating $500,000 in his father's name to create the Dan Pratt Memorial Teen Center, which is part of the Boys and Girls Club of Snohomish County in Lake Stevens, Washington. No doubt, learned some of that from the Scouts. George Takei, who we know as Sulu from Star Trek. He has spoken at the Boy Scout. No, he hasn't. He's just talked about being a Boy Scout. I served proudly as a Boy Scout in my youth, and talks about being a Scout often. Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, was an Eagle Scout. Sorry, I'm kind of reading this a little bit. So, love that. L. Ron Hubbard was a former Boy Scout. And let's see, it does say he was the youngest person ever to achieve the rank of Eagle Scout at the age of 13, although that's been disputed some. Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, who has a great podcast. He is an Eagle Scout and talks a lot about it. And what a cool dude. Y'all check out Mike Rowe for sure. And then the last one is Derek Ho, the Dancing with the Stars. Uh-oh. My computer just glitched. Come on, darling. Get back down here to the page. He is once a scout and is very supportive of the Scouts still. He says, as a kid, I was a Boy Scout. My dad was very into the outdoors, so we would take these big road trips every year for my birthday and go camping and see some amazing parks. So in the last few minutes, let's jump into scouting in Texas. It has a long history from 1910 to present day. Served hundreds of thousands of youth. So basically, scouting in Texas unofficially dates to the publication of British Lieutenant General Robert S.S. Baden-Powell's popular book, Scouting for Boys, in 1908. Even before a national organization had been started, groups of boys began scout activities in troops and small groups in 1908, 9, and 10. The claims of several troops to be the first organized troop in Texas, whether it's before or after incorporation of the Boy Scouts of America on February 8, 1910, are difficult to verify. However, BSA archives do show that the 37th registered scoutmaster in the country was a Texan, Reverend George W. Schaefer of Comanche, Texas, in 1910. In February 1910, just days before the Boy Scouts of America was organized, Boy Scout Troop 114 was established in Floresville, Texas, by Professor W.H. Butler. A reference to the Floresville Boy Scout Troop can be found in the edition of April 2, 1911 of the Galveston Daily News, when they published a picture of the Floresville Troop. An article in the Victoria Weekly Advocate, which is probably January 10th, 1911, refers to the Floresville Boy Scout Troop as the second oldest in Texas. A short break in the troop's charter occurred in 1974, so they no longer currently show to be an active troop. However, Austin, Texas Troop 5 was formed in 1911 and has been in continuous operation since that time. In 2011, Austin Troop 5 celebrated its 100th anniversary centennial at Camp Mabry. Troop 5 is believed to be the oldest continuous chartered scout troop in Texas. 1913 brought along Troop 7 and was established in Grapevine, Texas. And the troop has been chartered every year since starting, except in 1979, where they had a little bit of a break. So technically, from my understanding, this next troop is the second oldest continuously operating troop in Texas, which just so happens to be Boy Scout Troop 1, which me and my son are a part of, which meets just about 4 or 5 blocks down the road from me here in Wichita Falls, Texas. It was chartered in 1916 and has been continuously chartered since that time. An African American troop was formed in Port Arthur as early as 1916. The BSA report to Congress for 1930 named Dallas as one of the southern cities in which scouting was growing in the black community. Hispanic boys were also active in scouting, often in units with non-Hispanic boys. Jewish youth has been active in scouting in San Antonio for many years before a synagogue sponsored a troop for them in 1924. By 1918, unofficial wolf packs appeared in Paris. The BSA national office was officially moved to Irving, Texas in 1979. So lots of history there. So the National Scouting Museum was in Irving from October of 2002 to September of 2017 when it was moved to Philmont Scout Ranch in Cimarron, New Mexico, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I want to hit on a few, actually all of our councils that we have. So we start off with the Alamo Area Council in San Antonio, which serves 13 counties down there. And this just gives you an idea where they are, so you can look them up later. Next is the Bay Area Council, located in Galveston, Texas. And I do not see how many counties they serve, but it's a bunch. The Buffalo Trails Council out of Midland, Texas, which serves a boatload of counties out there in West Texas through several different districts, including Buffalo Trails Scout Ranch out in Fort Davis, which I've been to many times. Love it, love it, love it. Caddo Area Council, based out of Texarkana. They serve Northeast Texas and some of Arkansas. The Capital Area Council, based in Austin, has 15 counties. And they also have some cool camps, Lost Pines Scout Reservation, and several others. Lost Pines I've been to, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The Circle 10 Council, which you would think serves 10 counties, but it does not. It serves 24 counties in North Texas and portions of Oklahoma because of a merger. And actually, Circle 10 has been through several mergers, but Circle 10 is because they originally had 10 counties around Dallas. And so, of course, they've merged up. And they have an Order of the Arrow Lodge that we do a lot with called Micanakwa Lodge 101. Conquistador Council is actually based out of Roswell, New Mexico. However, they do serve one county in Texas because of that county's proximity to Clovis, New Mexico. East Texas Area Council, which some people shorten to ETAC, is in Tyler, Texas. They serve 17 counties. They have merged over the years with several councils, the Davy Crockett Council, Pine Tree Area Council, and the Tejas Council. So now it's the East Texas Area Council and has been for quite some time. They've got a cool camp, George W. Pirtle Scout Reservation, been there, and their Order of the Arrow Lodge, Tejas Lodge 72. The Golden Spread Council serves 23 counties in Texas and 3 counties in Oklahoma, and they are based out of Amarillo. Almost went to work out there once. Didn't work out, but they've got a couple of cool camps, Camp Don Harrington and Camp MK Brown. And I always mess up their Order of the Arrow name. The Nisha Akawaligan, that is their Order of the Arrow Lodge. Longhorn Council serves 23 councils, and they are based out of Hurst or Fort Worth, and they have an additional service area down around Waco. They've got Worth Ranch, which is kind of by Possum Kingdom, Sid Richardson Scout Reservation in Bridgeport, Texas. They also have Camp Tahoya over in Belton. And their Order of the Arrow Lodge is Natopolis, Sippo, Shinak. Gosh, I always mess that one up too. One council that did get merged not too long ago was Netseo Trails, and that Netseo stands for Northeast Texas, Southeast Oklahoma. They merged in with Circle 10 back in 2017. But I knew the scout executive there. They were based out of Paris, Texas, and it's pretty cool. And they've got Camp Dirks and another one called Hoag's Landing. Northwest Texas Council, which is right here in Wichita Falls. We serve 12 counties, and I've been in all of them. We have Camp Perkins right out here on the Red River. It is a beautiful place, and we are the oldest lodge west of the Mississippi, Wichita Lodge 35. Woo-woo! My daughter, Lorelei, is currently the lodge chief. She's about to roll off of that. Rio Grande Council, based out of Harlingen, serves, looks like 5 counties down there in that area. And I have met a few guys that have served down there. They do have Laguna Station High Adventure Base located in South Padre Island, and also a place called Camp Perry. But it looks like it's no longer a camp in Texas. So anyway, Sam Houston Area Council, obviously in Houston. This one is one of the largest councils in the United States membership-wise. We shorten it a lot to SHAC, Sam Houston Area Council. they've got all kinds of cool camps. Camp Strake, El Rancho Sema, and Beauvais Scout Ranch. Cool stuff. Let's see. And they officially have an international relationship with Scouts out of Chiba, Japan. South Plains Council serves the area around Lubbock. Then you have the South Texas Council, which is in Corpus Christi, and they have Camp Karankawa and the Karankawa Lodge. The Texas Southwest Council in San Angelo, Texas. This is where I started working for the Boy Scouts. It was originally the Concho Valley Council, but they changed it. They've got a couple of beautiful camps, Camp Salmeyer and Camp Fawcett, and Wahingto Lodge 199, which is where I got my vigil honor. So super excited about that. Texas Trails Council, which is based out of Abilene. They are also, a couple have merged. Used to be the Chisholm Trail Council, and also merged with the Comanche Trail Council. So they merged to be Texas Trails. They've got Camp Billy Gibbons, Camp Tonkawa, and they are the Pennateca Lodge. And they do some cool stuff there. Three Rivers Council, based out of Beaumont. And they have Camp Erland Scout Reservation. The Yucca Council is based out of El Paso, and they serve Texas and New Mexico. And they are the Gila Lodge. So there you go. There's a whole bunch of stuff about Boy Scouts in Texas. I hope you guys find it interesting, as I do. What do y'all think, though? What other kind of weird, off-the-wall, or interesting Texas history would you like to hear about? I would love to start interacting with some more people on my Facebook group and page, Once Upon a Time in Texas. Y'all get on, help me out. As always, remember, if you know someone moving, look me up. TheMichaelMitchell.com, TheMichaelMitchell.com. I would love to help people through Victory Home Loans get homes of their own. Thank y'all for tuning in to Once Upon a Time in Texas. As always, remember, the stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. Y'all have a great week.